Alright everybody, so I'm going to show you how to make these cute little clovers out of paper. So they're folded hearts, little mini folded hearts. And I think what's kind of cool is that you can put it on the end of one of your pencils or your pens. So, alright, you're going to need a pair of scissors, some tape or glue, you can use glue too, and of course a sheet of paper. And believe it or not, it's made out of one sheet of paper. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our piece of paper and fold it into fours. Be really careful, make sure you're lining up all the edges and taking your time and making really nice creases. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut it into the fours. And make sure that you are cutting on your crease. Sometimes when you don't cut right in the center of your fold or of your crease, you end up getting little folded or curved edges. And something that you can do to kind of keep that from happening, to prevent it, is to take your fold and crease it as much as possible. Use your fingernails, use a pencil, the edge of a pencil, a glue stick. I've seen caps for glue sticks, and just crease your fold as best as you can. And then of course what you can do is you can pull it apart carefully. So carefully, without ripping like the edges and ruining your fold, you can get a real nice straight line. Okay, so now we have our 4 pieces. And we're actually only going to need 3. So one of them we're going to push off to the side. And we're only going to take these 3 and we're going to fold these 3 into the heart. So each little square rectangle that you get from your paper is going to be one heart. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this bottom right corner and we're going to fold it up. So we want to line it up against the left edge here, and then make sure that you have real nice corners at the bottom and that you are creasing your paper as best as you can. The better the crease, the easier it'll be to fold. Okay, so now we're going to take the opposite corner and fold it up, and you want to kind of line up your fold. And again, same thing, make sure you have real nice corners. I didn't fold this edge as best as I could. I didn't line up my edge, and so I ended up, instead of having a corner, it was very flat. And you want to make sure you have corners. Okay, so now we're going to work with this point. We're going to flip our paper over, and you notice if you push on it, it kind of pops the paper forward, and we're just going to fold it in half along that point. Again, making our creases nice. Okay, and you can kind of see it. You'll be able to see that point, real nice point there after you've folded it. Try not to fold outside that point. Okay, flip it back over. And what you should be able to do is press down on that corner and it should fold nicely up into like a triangle. Okay, so I'm going to do that one more time. Slow motion, you push down on that corner and then those 2 folds pop forward, and it should be able to allow you to easily fold it into a corner. Okay, so now we're going to take it, and these 2 flaps that are here on the front or on the top, we're going to fold those down to the top of our triangle. Again, making sure we're making really good creases. We're going to do it to both sides. Fold it down to the top of our triangle. Okay. And be careful because I rotate my paper a lot. Try to follow along as best as you can. So this bottom part, this bottom flap, we're just going to shorten it a little bit so that way it's not so long. And we're just going to fold it up in half. And you're just folding up to the point where the paper meets the folds that you've already made. Okay, so this flap here on the right, you're just gonna fold it in. Try not to fold over the triangle parts that you have up towards the top where my middle finger is at. You just kind of want to line it up. Same thing with the bottom, you want to line that bottom up. Try not to have it folded down or folded up. You want to line it up nicely with the bottom. All of your creases and all of your edges should be lined up. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Again, same thing, just making sure your edges and your folds and your creases are all nice and neat. Okay, so you can see it's kind of like a little door flap, little windows. Almost looks like a paper airplane. Okay, we're going to take it and we're just going to flip it over. And so this point here at the top, this flap here at the top, just this piece, we're going to fold it down along these two corners. So we're going to make like a straight line. Again, same thing, making sure that our creases are nice and neat. Press down as best as you can. Okay. So now these two little flaps, we're going to fold at a diagonal angle. So it's kind of hard to see it without me actually folding it first. So once I fold it, you'll be able to see it makes like a little mountain. And that's because instead of folding straight down, I folded at a diagonal. I folded it at an angle. Okay, so there's it open. There's my crease. And it's folded down at a diagonal angle. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. So when you fold these two, remember these are the top rounded points or rounded edges of your heart, and so you kind of want them to be even. Mine were a little uneven, so I tried to fold my left side down just a tiny bit more so that way they would be even. Okay, also kind of make sure that you have enough of your little flap that it overlaps. Here, this right corner, we're going to fold it up towards the center of your heart. Notice I don't line up my points. I kind of bring it up to the center, but I still have the point here in the middle. So I'm not covering that point, I'm not going past it. I'm just kind of coming right up next to it. Okay, again, making sure your creases are nice and neat. We'll do the same thing to the other side. And so this is where you want to make sure that you have enough of those points. So when you fold all your edges that they're pointed, try not to make them flat. Here mine got a little flat because my edges weren't lined up properly. Okay, so you can already kind of see the heart forming. Alright, so this is where it gets a little difficult. This little triangle fold that we have here in the center, what we want to do is we want to open up this fold just a little bit, because what's going to happen is these corners here are going to fold inside of it. So this is where it gets a little tricky. You got to make sure that you're folding your little corners down inside of it, because that little flap is going to end up holding your folds together so that way it stays in that heart form. Okay, so we did the top fold and this bottom fold here too. Again, making sure that our folds are nice and neat, our creases are nice and neat, and you can kind of see how it folds inside my little flap and it holds it together. Okay, so we're doing it again on the other side. The other side was a little more difficult for me, and it's okay if your folds don't stay in, it comes out. while you're doing this side, you can always fold them back in. Once you get those folds and those creases together, it'll be easier to put them back after you've folded everything. And so you can kind of see why I didn't fold over that first little corner that's there in the center, so that way my two folds can line up next to it. Okay, and so there's your little heart. That's one heart down. So once you have the one heart, make sure you do the same exact steps to the other two sheets. And I went ahead and I fast forwarded it or skipped it, but I also did it in green paper. So you could do this with any color paper. Once I had my 3, I got my 4th sheet that I didn't fold. And this sheet is actually meant to be the tube at which your pencil or your pen actually goes in. So you can actually use your pencil or your pen, and you can actually roll it along with the pencil and the pen so that way it fits nicely. Okay, just fold it nice and neat. Make sure everything's lined up and straight. Try not to roll at an angle. You want it to be lined up nice and neatly. Remember that the neater and the nicer that your rolls and your folds are, the easier it's going to be to put it all together. Okay, and this is where we get our tape. I used tape only because it was pretty easy. You can, of course, you can glue it if you want to. Just keep in mind when you're gluing that the glue takes a little bit longer to dry, whereas tape, clear tape like this, it's quick and it's fast and you're done. Okay, so that's our little tube. I left this little piece open here at the end. It's up to you if you want to or not. You don't have to. I'm just gonna make 3 little cuts here along the top edge here. Remember, don't make it too long, don't make it too short. You want enough space that you'll be able to fit your little hearts on. Also be careful that you don't cut into the other cut. So here I kind of cut it too thin, but that's okay. It's still workable. And just fold back your little cuts and you'll get 3 little flaps. I went ahead and I taped these little flaps together only because they were kind of flapping everywhere. You don't really have to, because you're just gonna put the little hearts on top of it. It's just to hold the hearts on your little tube. You don't need a lot of tape either. I probably put on too much tape. You can always cut off what you don't need. Okay, and so you take your little heart, and if you notice at the bottom of your heart, this bottom corner, you can actually slide the flap here underneath it. So make sure that your heart is actually facing down and that your tube is upside down also. So here you can see my tape made my flap too big, and so I just had to trim my little flap and it should slide right in. Okay, and so just put on all of your little hearts. Make sure you slide in the same direction and you have it on the same side. Don't worry if they fall off, because you can just go back and tape it together. I went ahead and I took some tape. Again, it doesn't have to be a big piece. If you want to tape it your heart so that way your heart stays closed, that's fine. But if you folded it correctly, it should be able to stay closed. So here I'm just taping this tiny little corner so that way the little flap that I slid into the heart on the bottom will actually stay. So it's not a big piece of tape, not too much. Here I just try to adjust it to see if I can make it fit a little better, a little neater. And that's about it. So now you've got this nice little clover made out of hearts, and it spins and it twirls and it goes on top of your pencil, so that way on St. Patrick's Day when you're writing or you're drawing, you can have a little clover on top of your pencil. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching my video. Like my page, like my video, and subscribe.